In this video, I'm going to demonstrate to you 5 summer makeup mistakes that you might be making and how to correct them. I'm first going to make myself up making those mistakes, and then I'll do another makeup showing you how I avoid those mistakes. And just to let you know that these are mistakes I made in a video that I recorded last summer, and I'll link that video down below for you. So I'm speaking from experience. And just to let you know, I am 70 years old. Oh, and hello and welcome to Beauty by Des, or welcome back. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use exactly the same products in the mistakes part of the video and the correction part of the video. Now, I have done my skincare and I'll list the products down below that I've used, and they include a toner and of course a sunscreen. Now, because this is a summer makeup mistakes video, I am going to use very light products, and the first product I'm going to use, which I'm not including as a mistake, is a tinted hydrator, and it's this one by Wet n Wild. Now, I recently did a video where I compared tinted moisturisers and hydrators, and this one came second in my ranking. And it is an excellent tinted moisturiser. It does give quite a bit more coverage than some of the tinted moisturisers I use, but it's a really good quality tinted moisturiser. I'm going to apply it with a brush today. You can use a sponge, which I also use quite frequently, but just today we're going to use a brush. Now, like I say, there's no mistakes here. The most important thing is to choose the right shade. This doesn't come in many shades, by the way. If you haven't come across it, it's incredibly reasonably priced, very, very affordable, very easy to get hold of on Amazon. And I'm in the shade Light. So that's the tinted moisturiser. And the second thing that isn't a mistake, and the second product I'm going to apply before we get to the mistakes, is concealer. And I'm going to use an affordable concealer. Again, when I did some rankings of concealers a few months ago, this one came out second, and it is the L'Oreal True Match Concealer, and I've actually got it in 2 shades. I think we might mix the 2 together. I think I've got 2C and 2N. So let's mix them together. I'll just apply a little bit of each, like so. And I keep it really simple. If you've not seen my makeup applications before, I don't use a brush, or at least I'm not using a brush at the moment to apply my concealer. I use my fingers a bit, but what I do is I get a damp beauty sponge and I use the flat end, which I know doesn't seem terribly precise, but it seems to work for me because I'm pressing it into the skin. I will then go over it with my finger. I just find that this is quick, easy and effective. So that's what I like doing at the moment. And can you see already, I know there's a little bit that needs sorting out here, but how quickly that has melted into my skin. So I do think this is good. I think this is an e.l.f. brush. I think this is an e.l.f. sponge. I will put the details down below for you. I like it because it's fat and it's flat at this side. So all I need to do now is just a bit of tidying up with my fingers like so. And there we have it. That's it. Now, the first mistake I'm going to show you are too heavy brows. And this is something I've been doing for years. For those of you who are new to my channel, I've recently lightened my hair quite a bit more, and certainly compared to last year when I hadn't lightened it at all. It was very dark and I had a fringe as well. But it's only recently that I've begun to understand that I need lighter brows. So last year I was doing much too heavy a brow. So I'm going to use the same pencil that I use since I lightened my hair, but I'm just going to apply it in a more heavy-handed way, because this is the story of my makeup and many of the things that I've done in my life. I am naturally very heavy-handed with things. I've never been an artist. I can't draw or paint, and with my makeup I've always sort of slapped it on and not being as careful or as judicious as I should be. And so what I was doing last year, even though I had my channel all these years, I was overdoing the brows so that they were much too heavy. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, I had my brows laminated recently, which I must say I have really been pleased with, because, and in case you've never had your brows laminated, what it means is they just straighten the brow so that it's not curly, and it seems to make it more sort of feathered. So it makes it easier, particularly at these tail ends here, to deepen the colour, but without them looking too downturned. So as you can see, my brows are looking quite dark, even though I've used the same pencil, which is actually called Blonde, and let me swatch it for you. It is my Holy Grail pencil. Believe it or not, that is what Laura Mercier calls blonde. But I'm going to show you in the how to correct the makeup part of the video that actually your pencil doesn't need to look that strong. The second mistake is using too dark an eyeshadow, and for that I'm going to use this Bobbi Brown stick, which is in Heather... Ooh, it's Heather something, I can't remember the full title, but of course everything I talk about, all the products I use, will be listed and linked in the description box below and in the top comment as well. Now that's the colour there. And last year, I don't think I used this stick, but I did use quite a dark shadow. I think it was an eye stick, but it wasn't this one. And last year, what I would have done is just slap this on, like so, and then I'd have sheared it out a little bit, like that. So that's what we're going to do. So we'll do the other eye. I mean, it is a lovely colour. In fact, I haven't used this for some time. I've gone back to using sticks. So that's the eyeshadow. So we've used a stick, so we're keeping with the summer vibe, but we've gone over the top with the stick. And that's the kind of look I used to go for last year, and probably all the years before that as well. Now for mascara, I'm going to use the Maybelline Sky High, which I absolutely love, and really excellent, gives a great lift. And if you're new to makeup, I think this mascara is absolutely the bee's knees, I really do. And actually, thinking about it, I could have added in another summer makeup mistake, and that's using a mascara that's too heavy, because that's another thing I used to do. And I've kind of moved away from the Va Va Voom black, heavy, clumpy lashes. I never used to bother about whether my lashes clumped or not, but now I'm definitely more less is more, which I suppose is the overarching theme of this video, which is a lesson that I'm learning rather late in life at 70. Well, not far from 71 now, because where are we? June. My birthday's in September. And I'll be 71. Who'd have thunk it? Right, let's go on to mistake number 3, and that's confusing bronzer and contour and how to apply them. Now I've got two products here. This is a contour stick, and this is by Westman Atelier in the shade Biscuit. Let me swatch it for you here. So that is the shade Biscuit. Now, as you can see, that is a cool shade, and contours are traditionally in cool shades, whereas bronzers are in warmer shades, and this is by Merit and it's in the shade Clay. So can you see the difference here? So this is a sun-kissed shade, and this is really creating shadow. So I've mistakenly used this contour as a bronzer. So that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to use it here where the sun would naturally sit, and you can see immediately that looks all wrong here. Now what you can do and what isn't wrong is to use it here, and a lot of people also use a bronzer here, which isn't going to work at all. The idea of using the contour stick here, and we will do it a bit, is just, and I will show you, is to try and minimize, if I possibly can, my jowls, which are a little bit on the droopy side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my damp beauty sponge and shear that out a bit. But I think you'll see that it doesn't quite, particularly on the cheeks and the forehead, doesn't quite do the business because it's giving shadow. Now my forehead isn't that hard, so there's no real reason to shorten it. Now it doesn't look terrible, but it looks a little bit like a dirty mark, I would suggest, by putting it up here. I mean, if you were going to use it as a contour stick, you would actually put it here like that. because what you're doing there is you're trying to create a shadow here in order to accentuate your cheekbones. So we might as well do that as well while we're at it, just to show you what it's actually intended for. But can you see it's now looking quite grubby there? And there's far too much brown going on. Now we'll sheer it out a bit. So that's mistake number 3. Now mistake number 4 is applying too heavy a blusher and too dark. So this is something I've been guilty of until very recently. It's only in the last sort of 2 or 3 months that I've taken advice from all my lovely viewers on YouTube who said to me, you're using too dark a blusher. And this was particularly demonstrated to me last year when I bought an REM and I think also a Rare Beauty powder blusher. They were kind of cream to powder or powder to cream blushes. They were beautiful to look at in the pans, but oh my goodness, did I look terrible with them on. They really were far too heavy for me. Now I'm not going to use those because I think I decluttered them last year anyway. I took your advice and I decluttered them. But what I will do is show you the Westman Atelier blushes, and I bought 2 last year and one of them is really too dark for me. I mean, it's beautiful. And let me show you the shade. Look at that. I mean, that's a kind of raspberry colour, and I think that's called Doudou. And what I was doing was just going full on with the colour and not shearing it out enough, really. Because I love this raspberry shade, and back in the day when I was naturally dark and my skin hadn't faded as much as it has now, it would have been fine. But as we age, everything fades, everything recedes, everything kind of becomes blander. And of course our bones become more prominent as well. And so strong colours don't necessarily suit us anymore. And also the other thing I had a tendency to do actually was bring the blusher down too far. Because really the apples of our cheeks are not where they once were. So that's mistake number 4. Now let's go on to lips, and I'm going to line my lips. And this isn't a mistake that I make now with the pencil, but it is a mistake that I've seen a lot of women make, and that's going too heavy-handed with the lip pencil and leaving it as an obvious outline to the lips. Sorry, I should have said this is a NYX pencil, one of my favourites. In fact, let me swatch that for you as well. It's a really great neutral shade and incredibly affordable. That is a really good shade for me, actually. I don't think there's any mistake with this pencil. It is extremely good. But going on to the final mistake, and that is over-glossing your lips. Now, I discovered this lovely Milani lip plumping product last year, and let me swatch it for you, although it's quite difficult to see the swatch. This is in Rosewood Nights, I think the shade's called. That's it there. So it is quite close to my own lip colour. But when I look back at the video I did of my summer makeup, I think this doesn't look quite as good as I thought it did. So let me show you. Do you see what I mean? I think the lips look okay, but the overall look seems to me like I'm trying too hard to look younger. That's the aesthetic I'm getting. Now, maybe the lips would be okay with the lighter shadow and the lighter brows and just less makeup on. So I'm not saying that the product is wrong. Well, in fact, I'm not saying that about any of the products. It's just that they've either been wrongly applied or they don't go together. And I think in this instance, the very glossy, plumpy lip with the rest of the look just isn't doing me any favours. So this is the sort of makeup I would have done last year, but I think it's riddled with mistakes. Maybe not riddled, maybe that's a bit of an overstatement, but I think there are some makeup mistakes there that need correcting. So I'm going to take off this makeup, come back and show you how not to make the 5 mistakes that I think I've made with this makeup look. Right, I've taken my makeup off, and let's start again, showing you how I would correct the mistakes I used to make, still using light products for a summer makeup look. And what I wanted to say in this video, I haven't gone overboard with the mistakes because I'm assuming that most of you who are watching this video know a bit about makeup anyway, as I always think I do, but it just shows that you never stop learning. Because when I look back, as I say, at some of the videos I've done, not just the summer makeup one, but some of my others as well. And I just think, really, did I think that was a good makeup look? It was too heavy, it was too slapdash. It just wasn't enhancing my features in the best way possible. Now, I do accept that because my hair is so much lighter than it was last year, it has made a difference to the way I apply my makeup, as well as the actual products I use, or at least the shades, and maybe even the products themselves, because yes, it's the summer, so I am leaning into the skin tint type of products and cream products, but I do that every year. I much prefer lighter products, cream and liquid products in the summer, and the sort of heavier, more medium to full coverage foundations and even eyeshadow palettes, which I wouldn't think of touching in the summer. I don't know about you. Would you use an eyeshadow palette in the summer? I think from a one and done perspective, fine, but I wouldn't reach for them. I'd rather reach for a cream or a stick. And talking of powder products, and I'm just going to reapply the concealer, I haven't used any powder at all under my eyes, which I used to do, and I'm not averse to doing it again, but at the moment I'm just not feeling like I need it. I'm feeling like the concealers I'm using set very well on their own, and they don't seem to need any further setting, but I think it does also depend on the mascara you're using. So I have to say, with the Maybelline, I don't usually get any smudging or fallout or anything, but it does depend on the mascara, and gosh, mascara is so tricky, isn't it? At the moment, I'm enjoying a couple of very light mascaras, the more feathery type, like the Merit, and what's the other one I've used? Well, the Laura Mercier is nice, and maybe I should go back to the Kitten Lash. I haven't used it for a while, the Lisa Eldridge. Those more feathery mascaras I'm enjoying, rather than the Vavavoums I used to love. The Vavavoums of yesteryear that I used to love. I'm not saying I wouldn't go back to them, and I might in the winter. I think it's probably about coverage as well. I want more coverage, generally speaking, in the winter, whether it's makeup or clothes, than I do in the summer. See, look how quick that was. And that concealer is so good, isn't it? The way it applies really quickly, no fuss or mess, just settles in, as it were, for the day, and very little creasing. Now, the first mistake that we're going to correct are the brows. So we are going to use the same pencil, but we're going to be a lot more light-handed with the application. So first we'll brush them up again. And then what I'm going to do, actually, before I apply the pencil, I'm going to sharpen it. It needs a good sharpen, and I think the sharper the pencil, the lighter touch you can use, certainly for me, because like I said earlier on, I have quite a heavy touch naturally. In fact, even with my handwriting, that's probably why my handwriting is so legible even to me. And perhaps holding the pencil further down as well means you're going to be lighter with your touch. So let's do that. I do love this pencil, I must say. I have struggled to find anything as good as this in any other high-end or affordable, because the affordables and some of the high-ends tend not to be pencils. They tend to be the retractable kind, and the problem with those is they often break off, or they're very thin, or they're too waxy. I mean, this is just a straightforward pencil, and that's all you need. If you know of any pencils other than these, particularly at the more affordable end, do let me know. Sorry, I've got little straggly hair there. Get out of the way. Come on. So you really don't need to press too hard if you've sharpened it properly. And we'll just brush up the hairs like that now. Now you might say, oh, well, you were just exaggerated your brows before, and I probably did a bit, but it's just to make the point that in the past, I probably also not only made them too dark, but I also made them too thin. And I think if you've got really thin brows, it sort of goes back to how we used to look in the early 80s, didn't it? The thin brows, and even the kind of no brow look. We were trying to sort of almost eliminate the brows. In fact, you know, once I actually shaved them off, but that was in the 70s, I think. I think because I thought I had a monobrow. I mean, honestly, did I have a monobrow? No, I probably had 2 or 3 little stragglers in the middle there, but hardly a monobrow. Anyway, luckily they grew back, but they've never been very strong or very dark. Well, they are dark, but there's just not a lot of hair there. Anyway, so I'm now being lighter with my touch and also lighter with the shade of pencil. Now we're going to use the same eyeshadow stick that we used before, which is the Bobbi Brown. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to apply it, and then I'm going to sheer it out with a brush. So let's apply a little bit, not too much. It says it's a heather, but it is kind of a brown, isn't it? But we're just going to shear it out so that we've just got a wash rather than a very dark look. And actually by using a brush, it means we can go slightly up into the crease, like so, like that. And I think you'll agree that's a nice soft look. Right, let's do the other side. We don't need too much really, just a bit. And this is a BK Beauty, oh, what is it, 207. And I really like this brush. It's got the right sort of head. It's nice and small but densely packed. So it makes it easy to be precise about where you want the colour to go. Although obviously I am shearing this out. I think if I had a bigger, softer head, it wouldn't be so easy, because when you've got very wrinkled eyelids, you don't want too much movement from your brush if you're trying to be precise. You want it to be pretty firm. And actually, you know what, I think we might just open up a bit here, like so, just to make sure that it's not settling into all those wrinkles on the eyelid. There, we've got a nice wash of colour, giving a little bit of definition to the eye, but not too much. Now we'll pop the same mascara on. There we are. So we've got some definition on our eyelids, we've got some colour, but it's a wash rather than looking like a full-on smoky eye. So now I'm going to use the contour stick in the right way, which is really just to minimise my jowls as best I can. Can you see I'm quite jowly here? Been jowly here for a long time, actually. Now I could do something here. I could put a bit of contour here, but I think my cheekbones are well enough defined, and I think if I start to put a contour in my hollows, it's just going to make me look gaunt, so I don't think that's really what we're after. So I think we're just going to use a contour stick here. I don't think I need it anywhere else. Just have to be careful we don't get what looks like a dirty mark. Right, that's contour, and then we're going to use bronzer. Now we're going to use bronzer properly. This is the Merit, and we're going to put it where the sun would naturally hit, which is really up here. Put a tiny bit on our nose and a little bit on our forehead as well. Now what I like about this Merit shade is it's not too warm. It's a bit warm because it's the sun, so it's going to be a warm shade. It's not too warm for my kind of neutral, leaning a bit coolish skin tone. And again, I'm just going to use my sponge, just shear it out, a little bit on the nose. Just be careful not to leave a big blob there. And we'll just give a nice sun-kissed look. It's a beautiful summer's day out there today. It really is lovely. Although apparently we're going to have storms later, but fingers crossed. This wedding that I keep going on about, for those of you who've watched my channel before, I'm going to a wedding next Saturday, and I keep looking at the temperature because I still haven't decided what I'm wearing yet. Now, can you see that's giving my skin a nice glow and a nice sun-kissed kind of look? Actually, talking of glow, and while we go on to blusher, I just wanted to say that one of the things we do have to be a bit careful about, and it probably goes back partly to the lip product that I used in the mistakes part of the video, is we don't want to look too glowy, because then we can look a bit sweaty. We don't want to look sweaty at our age, do we? That is not a good look, unless we just come out of the gym or the tennis court or something. It's not really what we're after. So here I'm going to be using Chouchette. In fact, I'm not sure I showed you this shade before. So this is Chouchette of the Westman Atelier, and let me show you that against Doudou. So this is Doudou and this is Chouchette. So Doudou is what I wore in the mistakes part of the video, and Chouchette is what I'm going to wear now. And Chouchette is a much gentler, kinder, softer shade. This is a beautiful raspberry shade, but I don't think I can get away with this shade any longer. I think it's too strong for me. It would have been fine 10, probably 20 or 30 years ago. In fact, I once dyed my hair this sort of colour. I wish I had the pictures. I so wish I had pictures. We just didn't take our cameras about. We didn't really have cameras. Well, we had Instamatics or something back in the day, didn't we? But cameras were just not a thing because it was such a huge hoo-ha to take them to be developed, and also it was very expensive. Right, sorry, I'm digressing as usual. So let's now put some blusher. So we're just going to go a little bit lower than we did for the bronzer, and then we're going to be very careful not to come too far down. I think I've just managed not to do that with the blusher, so that we're getting a nice glow. Well, we haven't come too far down here, but we haven't come too far down to the apples of our cheeks, because our apples are not where they were. And can you see that's a much more natural, much lighter, much softer look than the strong raspberry shade I used earlier. Right, let's take our NYX pencil again. And I'm using the flat side. I'm not going in with the point. I'm using the flat side so that it's not too harsh. Do you know, I think this is one of the best lip pencils. The more I use it, the more I think it's absolutely my lips but better, isn't it? Or my lip colour anyway. In fact, you can barely see it, but I know it's there. Now, what we're going to do for lips, so we're not going to use the Milani because we've used that in the makeup mistakes part of the video. We're actually going to use the Fenty Is It Fussy Gloss Bomb. And the reason I wanted to use this, and I have used this in other videos before, let me show it to you, and I'll also swatch it. So this is it here, and then I'm going to swatch it. In fact, let me swatch it on my hand. That's it there. Now, interestingly, it does have a fragrance, but it doesn't contain fragrance, so it does smell of something. It's a bit watermelony actually, but I've checked the ingredients. It definitely doesn't contain fragrance or vanilla, because those are the two things I'm finding in a lot of lip products at the moment. Vanillin, which I'm allergic to. It's a derivative of Peruvian balsam, which I'm allergic to. But this doesn't contain anything like that at all, so it's perfectly safe for me to use. And what I really like about this, and why I've chosen this over the Milani, why I think this looks better on me, is it's not as sort of in your face, glossy. Even though it's called a gloss bomb, it's not as in your face as the Milani, and it doesn't have the lip plumping effect either. So let me apply it and show you what I mean. Now, can you see the difference? This is glossy, but it's not too glossy. It hasn't got that sort of wet lips look about it. It's more glistery than glossy. I don't think there is such a word as glistery, but you know what I mean. And that's why I think it works really well for a summer makeup. So there you have it. Those are my 5 summer makeup mistakes you might be making in 2025 and how to correct them. So let me know what you think. Do you prefer this makeup or the other makeup, or a combination of the two? There's no real right or wrong. We talk about makeup mistakes. They're not really mistakes if we're being completely honest. They're just makeup techniques that maybe don't work for you in the same way they did when you were younger. That's all we're talking about here. But makeup should be fun, and the wonderful thing is you can just take it off and start again, which is what I've done today. So let me know in the comments what you think. So that's it. Please give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe before you leave if you haven't already. And if you'd like to hear more from me on all sorts of topics, not just beauty, I have a bi-monthly newsletter, and the link to subscribe to that is also in the description box below. As are all the products I've talked about in this video, and they will also be in the top comment for ease of use. And thank you so much for watching. It means the absolute world to me. It really does. And you're all so lovely in your comments. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate every single one of you who takes the time to comment on my videos. And I will look forward to seeing you in my next video, which will be on Wednesday, and that will be a vlog. Thanks so much for watching. Lots and lots of love. Bye.